The word circulatory comes from the root word circulation, which means to distribute. The main purpose of the circulatory system is to distribute its components evenly throughout the body. The basic functions of the circulatory system are to deliver oxygen and nutrients to the cells, to remove waste products after metabolic activities, and to regulate temperature of the body. The circulatory system has three main components: the heart, blood vessels, and the blood. The heart starts beating when a child is inside its mother's womb. The heart is the most important organ of the circulatory system. Do you know how our heart looks? Clench your fist and look at it. The size of your fist is roughly the size of your heart. The heart is a pear-shaped organ that lies between the lungs. It is slightly tilted to the left. Inside the heart, blood is pumped through 4 chambers. The blood flow is controlled by 4 valves. In the human heart, blood is pumped through 4 chambers: a right atrium and a right ventricle, a left atrium and a left ventricle. The 2 ventricles are muscular chambers that push the blood out of the heart. The 2 atria hold the blood returning to the heart and empty into the right and left ventricles respectively. The blood flow in the human heart is controlled by 4 valves. The functions of these valves is to open and close to allow the blood to flow in one direction only. Deoxygenated blood from different parts of the body reaches the right atrium. Oxygenated blood from the lungs is brought to the left atrium by the pulmonary vein. Right ventricle receives deoxygenated blood from the right auricle and sends it to the lungs through the pulmonary artery. The left ventricle receives oxygenated blood from the left auricle and supplies it to all other parts of the body. The blood is circulated to other parts of the body and vice versa with the help of blood vessels. The blood vessels are hollow tubes that serve as passages for blood. There are 2 types of blood vessels. They are arteries and veins. Arteries carry blood away from the heart. Except the pulmonary artery, all the arteries distribute oxygenated, rich blood to the tissues of the body. The large arteries branch out into smaller arteries called arterioles. The walls of the arteries are thick and muscular. Veins carry blood towards the heart. They have thin muscular walls. Except the pulmonary vein, all other veins carry bluish-red oxygen-depleted or deoxygenated blood towards the heart. Blood is called the fluid of life. It is the red fluid circulated throughout the body by the circulatory system. Blood contains essential substances needed by the body to maintain normal cell function. The blood exchanges nutrients and water with all the cells. Blood serves as the carrier of waste products to be transported out of the body through the excretory system. Blood cells and plasma are important components of blood. Blood cells constitute 45% of blood. They float in plasma and move. There are 3 types of blood cells. They are red blood corpuscles or RBC, white blood corpuscles or WBC, and blood platelets. Plasma makes up 55% of the volume of the blood. Plasma is composed of water, proteins, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and other substances like sodium, potassium, and calcium. Plasma makes up 55% of the volume of the blood. Plasma is composed of water, proteins, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and other substances like sodium, potassium, and calcium.
Heart is a conical muscular organ involved in pumping of blood. It is present in the thoracic cavity between lungs and mediastinum. It is protected by a double membranous structure called pericardium. The space between 2 membranes of pericardium is filled with pericardial fluid, which protects the heart from external jerk. Human heart is internally divided into 4 chambers, 2 upper, thin-walled chambers called auricles or atria, which are involved in receiving blood, and 2 lower thick-walled chambers called ventricles, which pump blood to various parts of the body. Unidirectional flow of blood is controlled inside the heart by the presence of flap-like structures called valves. Now, let us see the types of valves present at different regions of the heart. Tricuspid valve is present between right atrium and right ventricle. Bicuspid or mitral valve is present between left atrium and left ventricle. Semilunar valves are present at the base of aorta and pulmonary trunk. Look at the table showing the location and the role of different valves in the flow of blood. Tricuspid valve present at right auriculoventricular aperture is made up of 3 flaps. It directs the flow of blood from right auricle to right ventricle. Bicuspid valve, otherwise said to be mitral valve, has 2 flaps. It is located at left auriculoventricular aperture and directs the flow of blood from left auricle to left ventricle. Pulmonary valves or semilunar valves is moon-shaped and 3 in number. It is present at the origin of pulmonary aorta in the right ventricle. It allows blood to flow from right ventricle into pulmonary aorta. Aortic valve or semilunar valve is 3 in number. It is located at the origin of aorta in the left ventricle. It allows blood to flow from left ventricle into the aorta. Thus, the flow of blood in one direction, that is unidirectional flow, is controlled inside the heart by the presence of valves. Now, you can have a look at the distinguishing features of right auricle and left auricle. Right auricle is larger in size than the left auricle. Right auricle receives blood through superior and inferior vena cava. Left auricle receives blood through pulmonary vein. Right auricle receives deoxygenated blood from all parts of the body except lungs. Left auricle receives oxygenated blood only from the lungs. Right auricle pumps blood into right ventricle. Left auricle pumps blood into left ventricle. Differences between right ventricle and left ventricle. The right ventricle is smaller in size than the left ventricle. The pulmonary aorta takes its origin from the right ventricle. The systemic aorta takes its origin from the left ventricle. The right ventricle receives deoxygenated blood from the right auricle and pumps the blood to lungs through pulmonary artery. The left ventricle receives oxygenated blood from the left auricle and pumps the blood to all parts of the body except lungs through the aorta. The tricuspid valve guards the right auriculoventricular aperture. The bicuspid valve guards the left auriculoventricular aperture. Blood vessels which carry the blood away from the heart are called arteries. It normally carries oxygenated blood. The systemic aorta and pulmonary aorta are the 2 main arteries arising directly from the heart. The systemic aorta arises from the left ventricle, carries oxygenated blood to all the body organs except lungs. The pulmonary aorta arises from the right ventricle. It branches outside the heart into right and left pulmonary arteries which carry blood to right and left lungs respectively. It is the only artery which carries deoxygenated blood to the lungs for purification. There is a pair of coronary arteries that supply oxygenated blood to the heart muscle. The blocking of coronary artery results in a heart attack. Blood vessels which bring the blood towards the heart are called veins. It normally carries deoxygenated blood. Superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, and pulmonary vein are the three large veins that bring the blood to heart from all the parts of the body. The superior vena cava collects deoxygenated blood from the upper parts of the body, such as head and neck. The inferior vena cava or postcaval vein brings deoxygenated blood from the lower parts of the body, such as abdomen, hands, and legs. Both these veins open into the right auricle. The pulmonary vein brings oxygenated blood from the lungs and opens into the left auricle. It is the only vein that carries oxygenated blood. A pair of coronary veins brings deoxygenated blood from the walls of the heart and opens into the right auricle. The rhythmic contraction and relaxation of cardiac muscle produce a heartbeat. In a normal person, heart beats 70 to 80 times per minute. Contraction phase of the heart is known as systole, and the relaxation phase of the heart is known as diastole. Functioning of heart includes three phases as follows. Auricular systole is a phase during which both the auricles contract at the same time and pump blood into the ventricles. Ventricular systole is the phase at which both the ventricles contract at the same time and pump blood into blood vessels. During ventricular diastole, both the auricles and ventricles relax. The study of blood is called hematology. Blood is a fluid connective tissue having several different types of cells present in the intercellular fluid called plasma. These cells are called blood cells or blood corpuscles. An average adult has about 5 liters of blood. In fact, blood is called fluid tissue of the body. Components of blood plasma. Plasma is straw-colored and clear. It is slightly alkaline in nature. It consists about 60% of the total volume of the blood. About 85 to 90% of the plasma is water. Plasma consists of organic and inorganic components. Inorganic components, the total salt content in the blood plasma is about 0.85 to 0.9%. The chlorides and bicarbonates of sodium are the major inorganic salts present in the plasma. Apart from this, minute amounts of iron, phosphorus, and iodine are also present. These salts maintain osmosis, acid-base balance, and so on. Organic components. About 6 to 8% plasma is represented by organic components. The major organic components are sugars, especially glucose, amino acids, fatty acids, urea, lipids, and proteins. Blood contains heparin, which helps in the clotting of blood. Plasma contains a small amount of gases such as oxygen and carbon dioxide. These gases are present in a dissolved state. Proteins present in blood plasma. Albumin is a major protein. It helps in the transport of some substances and maintenance of osmotic pressure of the blood. Globulins participate in the transport of substances, defense reaction of the body, and in maintenance of osmotic pressure. Fibrinogen and prothrombin are blood proteins that help in the clotting of blood when the blood vessel is injured. Red blood cells are otherwise said to be erythrocytes. RBCs are circular and biconcave in shape. Immature red blood cell possesses all the organelles, including nucleus, but mature RBCs have only plasma membrane and cytoplasm. The production of RBC is called erythropoiesis. In adults, RBCs are produced in the bone marrow, while in embryonic stages, they are formed in the liver and spleen. The number of RBCs is more in children than in adults. Most of the old red blood cells are destroyed in the spleen, so it is said to be graveyard of red blood cells. Every day, about 10 into 10 to the power 12 red blood cells are destroyed, and the same number of new red blood cells are added to the blood. The red color of the blood is due to the presence of pigment called hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is made of a protein called globin, ion called heme, and an organic molecule called porphyrin. It plays a major role in the transport of oxygen and carbon dioxide. White blood cells are otherwise said to be leucocytes. White blood cells are formed in the lymph nodes, spleen, and thymus. Old white blood cells are destroyed in the blood, liver, and lymph. White blood cells move like amoeba and feed on the foreign materials that enter the body. Therefore, white blood cells are also called as phagocytes. The two major types of white blood cells are granulocytes and agranulocytes. Granulocytes. The white blood cells having different types of granules in their cytoplasm are called granulocytes. The nucleus in these cells is irregular in shape and has many lobes. There are three different types of granulocytes. They are neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils. Neutrophils. These cells can be stained with neutral dyes. The nucleus has 5 to 6 lobes, and the cytoplasm has large number of closely packed granules. These cells kill the bacteria inside their cytoplasm, so called as microscopic policemen of the body. Eosinophils. These cells can be stained with acid dyes, therefore they are called acidophils. The nucleus of these cells has 2 lobes which are connected by a bridge. These attack the parasites and also help to reduce the allergic reactions in the body. Basophils. These cells can be stained with basic dyes. Therefore, they are called as basophils. The nucleus in these cells is elongated and S-shaped. Granules in the cytoplasm are round, large, and are a few in number. These cells are phagocytic in nature and play a part in healing processes. Agranulocytes, as the name denotes, These cells do not have granules in their cytoplasm. These cells have large nucleus. There are two types of agranulocytes. They are lymphocytes and monocytes. Lymphocytes. These cells are the smallest cells of all the white blood cells. Lymphocytes have a thin layer of cytoplasm and a round, large nucleus. These cells recognize the foreign bodies that enter the blood and produce antibodies against them. These cells protect the body against viral and fungal infections. Monocytes. They are the biggest of all the white blood cells. These cells have kidney-shaped nucleus. They invade the infected area and kill the bacteria. They also play a major role in developing immunity against diseases. The number of monocytes increases in leukemia. Blood platelets are otherwise said to be thrombocytes. These cells are oval or round or biconvex in shape. These cells have cytoplasm but no nucleus. They play a major role in the clotting of blood. In this topic you have learnt, circulatory system in humans is composed of heart, blood vessels and blood. Heart is protected by a double membranous structure called pericardium. Bicuspid valve is otherwise said to be mitral valve, which is located at the left auriculo-ventricular aperture of the heart. There is a pair of coronary arteries supplying oxygenated blood to the heart muscle. Contraction phase of the heart is called systole and relaxation phase is called diastole. For a normal person, heart beats 70 to 80 times per minute.